staying on top of this pursuit. There he is as he's weaving through traffic. Police are still behind him, Chris, but I've seen that they've given him a little space.
Yeah, I don't think it's intentional, but the traffic just is not allowing them to follow that with that full pursuit package. They're having a little bit of trouble navigating. A lot of last-minute weaving that we're seeing here. It almost looked for a second like he was going to get off the freeway, weaved all the way over to the express lanes, and now he's really jockeying in between this rush hour traffic here. So they are still within sight. They can barely keep a visual at this point, as far as I can tell, trying to figure out if there's an airship overhead. Is there a helicopter? Okay, I'm being told there's actually 2 helicopters right overhead here. So they're going to let those helicopters follow at a safe distance if they can't keep up with them. But as you can see, just in this shot here, getting past the 105 freeway, there's a lot more volume on the southbound side. That's why he's resorting to those express lanes. If he stays with the express lanes, you'll see all of those black and whites get over with him and probably catch up with him sooner rather than later. But that's going to allow him to speed up a little bit here. But they are trying to keep up with him. They don't want to put anybody else's life in danger, and they have the luxury of those helicopters now overhead, able to call out that location.
Do not pay your next car insurance bill. Repeat, do not.
Chris, we're just getting word that the CHP is being notified. So this is LAPD on his tail at this point?
Right. So what they'll likely do is inform CHP what they're dealing with on the 105 freeway. CHP will track this with them. They will be ready to participate, ready to engage if LAPD asks for that assistance. It appears at this juncture that LAPD is going to maintain control of this pursuit, but these things can change pretty quickly depending on the circumstances. So that is, it's almost like a courtesy at this point to let CHP know, listen, this is what's coming down the 110 freeway. If this continues down all the way into another freeway, into another county, they may at some point bring in the resources of California Highway Patrol. Right now, they're going to be letting those CHP units ahead of him know, and if they need any help, maybe blocking off some of those entrance ramps or exit ramps, very difficult to do in rush hour traffic, but they can use CHP to help out with those things as well. So he's now back in the express lanes, southbound on the 110 freeway. Right now, still an LAPD pursuit. 2 airships overhead, about 7 units that I counted behind him, but they have fallen back about a couple hundred yards here. There's that primary unit still with a clear visual of that suspect right there on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. The suspect doing about freeway speeds, maybe just over the speed limit right now. We'll go ahead and throw up our real-time speed tracker as we push back in on that driver, and you'll let that calibrate just a second here. It's going to line up probably doing just under 100 miles per hour, maybe even closer to 90, I would say. He's probably not quite doing 110, but he's actually speeding up, so maybe that is a little more accurate than I'm guessing. But right now, he does have that left lane to really push the pedal to the metal, and a little less volume, actually, as we get further towards Gardena.
Yeah, he's in a little compact Toyota, but it could really move, as you can see. And now the road is really opening up, but the police, LAPD, pretty close to him, right behind him. They have pretty large engines. They should be able to get pretty close to him right now, and now it's just a matter of just seeing where he's going to go.
He's definitely flying past all the other cars on the freeway, which we believe are going 60, 65, maybe 70. He's blowing by them, so maybe you're right that he is going, close to 100 miles an hour.
Or maybe the LAPD just stays with it.
It's a great question, because now we're going to be in San Pedro, which is going to be in LAPD's jurisdiction. So they will have the chance here to maintain control of this pursuit, even if they hand it off to a different division. We have been in the city of LA this entire time, but the fact that he was on the freeway did prompt them to hand it off or attempt to hand it off. What I'd like to do when you have a chance, Josh, just want to peek over at that primary unit, that SUV behind him. I think that is still LAPD. I just want to double check. That is still LAPD right behind him. So what we know for sure is that handoff has not taken place yet. CHP is still getting prepared, getting units in place, but it's not easy. They have to have the units available. Here he is getting off. He's going to cut somebody off. He's going to go over the gore point here, and he's going to get off at, let's see, we'll get this exit here. It's at the Terminal Island exit, but he's now going to be on surface streets here momentarily as this ramp takes him underneath the 110 freeway. and eventually towards the Vincent Thomas Bridge. He is actually about to get on the Vincent Thomas Bridge if he doesn't take this final exit here, which will be Harbor Boulevard. If he bypasses Harbor, he will end up on the bridge, and he will take us all the way into the port. It looks like he's hugging that left lane, and if I'm not mistaken, he is now committed. He is now committed to, over the goal point. This is his last chance. No. A little last-minute maneuvering there really points to what you were talking about, guys. He really may not know where he wants to take this. He possibly
he's slowing down.
Just making this up, going the wrong way now. He's now taking the entrance ramp, going off, thinking he's going to lose these cops, going head-on with these semi-tractor trailers that are trying to get towards the port, now going the wrong way on Palos Verdes Street as he comes head-to-head with other motorists, threading the needle, coming head-to-head with innocent drivers trying to get onto the bridge here. He is now going the wrong way on the entrance ramp, getting off at Harbor Boulevard, making a wild left-hand turn here, and really ramping things up. This is going to change the entire profile of this pursuit. That maneuver is enough to attract a lot more attention, going over the dividing cones there, and now trying to just put any amount of distance that he can between him and those primary units. But you can see now we have clear desperation. There's a guy directing traffic right here. He's like, what's going on with this guy? Well, he has no idea. This is a major pursuit coming right through the port here, and this suspect is desperate. He is now desperate to get away. We are seeing a much different behavior now behind the wheel than we've seen at any point during this pursuit as he tries to figure out his next move here. The fact of the matter is we don't even know if this vehicle, who it belongs to. Again, it all goes back to what they are working with in terms of information. We don't know if this is a stolen vehicle, what other crimes are involved surrounding this suspect. I can tell you traffic is about to come to a complete stop momentarily. That may or may not inhibit him because right now he is dedicated to that shoulder. He's using that shoulder to get around all of this rush hour traffic. LAPD still trying to catch up, but you can see now it looks like there's 2 units coming up ahead here. They may be positioning for a spike strip. Look at that. They've stopped traffic ahead of him. They've stopped traffic and they spiked him. They spiked him in the middle of rush hour traffic on the freeway, deploying that spike strip, and it looks like it may have been successful.
Brilliant.
Look at that front left tire. If that front left tire was struck, it's most likely that the front right tire was likely struck, but that looks like that tire is already deflating from hitting that spike strip. That is going to really slow this vehicle down here as he tries to get off, going around the semi-truck. Back on the shoulder here. Excellent job by the California Highway Patrol, able to set up for that spike strip. That's why
I don't think we've seen that before.
Each other to try and coordinate.
I don't think we've seen that before on the freeway.
Move, Giovanna. It's been especially with all that traffic. The freeway spike is something they will try, but it's something we see more common up in the desert or maybe up the Grapevine where they've got a long stretch of freeway and empty pavement to just lay down that spike strip. I think you're right. I have never quite seen one in the middle of rush hour traffic. They were able to effectively create a traffic break and then right at the traffic break, lay down a perfect spike strip right as he cleared the traffic jam there. And now it looks like he's thinking about getting off the freeway, getting off of the 110 freeway now as that tire is already coming off. That tire was immediately deflated. There goes the tire. Now he's riding on one rim. I don't know what the other side of the vehicle looks like, but he's getting off now. LAPD right behind him. He's coming between these 2 vehicles here. We know he's willing to ram into other cars. He's done it already. He's gone the wrong way. He has sped right through traffic, and now it looks like this vehicle is on borrowed time. Tyler, when we get a chance at some point, if we can come around the passenger seat, I would like to see just what that other side of the vehicle looks like. But this vehicle is coming apart at the seams. We've got one tire completely gone. We've got the bumper dangling off here. There is other damage, and we're going to see how much longer this holds up. But right now, he just turned onto Del Amo Boulevard off of Fig, and he's slowing down dramatically. Also, the fender is also interfering with that front right wheel. So, it's a Toyota. It'll go the distance, but it is on borrowed time, guys.
Absolutely. And if you are just joining us, we have been on this pursuit. What's very important about this pursuit is we believe that this is a murder suspect. So beware of that. If this does come to an end, and he jumps out of the vehicle, we need to be prepared for any possible scenario. We believe this is a very dangerous person that is in this car, and there's the damage. Front right tire as well. The passenger side tire looks like they got that as well. They lured him with that shoulder, Chris, and he fell for it. He went right at it and went right at them and that spike strip.
Main Street, and we will try and do our best to keep a visual of him.
Okay, Main Street, he just passed Manchester. That was that last major intersection, if you're familiar with that neighborhood. And there's a lot of folks out and about right now as this slow speed pursuit goes right on by. And we're staying on top of this because if you're just joining us, this is a murder suspect. This is something that police and law enforcement are taking very seriously. They're not going to let this guy go. And now that they had that perfect spike strip, they don't have to let him go because he cannot maneuver or move fast enough to be that much of a danger to society. What is the big question is this guy armed? And what's going to happen when he can't go any further? What is the reaction going to be? Is he going to give up, or is he going to run, or is he going to fight? And we have to be aware that these possibilities exist in a big way, especially if this is a murder suspect, Giovanna. This guy, he is on his last breath as a free man, and he could be desperate.
As you were talking, David, the man on the right of your screen was waving his hands and sort of shaking his arms, apparently egging him on or celebrating him. I mean, we don't know, we can only guess, but we can only hope that law enforcement is in touch with him in his car. We know he has a cell phone, or maybe he's talking to family. Hopefully they're trying to talk him down, convince him, persuade him to turn himself in and end this peacefully.
Yeah, the tread on both front tires is gone. The back tire, we believe one of the back tires is also punctured. It still has tread. If there is one functioning tire, so be it, but maybe both are punctured. We're not quite clear yet. Nevertheless, you can see the damage on this vehicle. One is from a collision with a pickup truck when he was going the wrong way on an entrance ramp, but the rest of the damage looks to be from that spike strip and the disintegrating rubber. He does try to turn. Look at that. Right towards you, Chris.
Westbound Florence, a wild left turn with no tires, and he just randomly made a left turn on Florence. I should tell you, we may actually lose sight of him now because, unfortunately, we were in the process of transitioning through LAX's airspace. The control tower was nice enough to allow us to follow Main Street northbound along the 110 freeway, and we were able to catch up. But now, unfortunately, we're going to start pulling away from him here as he ventures back into the Bravo airspace towards the airport, and that's gonna inhibit our ability here in just a second. Unfortunately, he made that turn. This is going to give us a real problem here. He's going to disappear behind these buildings. LAPD, fortunately, able to make that turn with him. We're listening to the radio to see if they have any luck, but a random turn there at the very last second, making a turn off of Main Street onto Florence and getting closer now to the 110 freeway. It looks like he's underneath the 110 freeway, underneath the Harbor Freeway, coming out the other side. And that is going to put him, look at this, getting back on the freeway.
What?
He might be getting back. He might be getting back on the freeway. That's not an entrance ramp, but it's going to. Yeah, that's this northbound Flower, which runs parallel to the 110 freeway here, but he will eventually run into a entrance ramp that will put him onto the freeway if he decides to take it. So look at him. He's coming up southbound on Florence, and now potentially you have to wonder why he's making these turns. Is he deciding that maybe he's approaching the on-ramp here, so maybe this is just a game of cat and mouse for him at this point. I was going to say maybe he's got an idea of where he wants to go, but it almost looks, you see the on-ramp right there in the middle of your screen, and it looks like he is going to take it. Wow. We will see here if LAX allows us to reverse course, because now we are behind him once again. We've transitioned northbound. Now we are just south of downtown LA, looking south along the 110 freeway, and once again, he's put himself in a position where he's in even thicker traffic. I mean, we're further into the rush hour than we were earlier, and you can see a much bigger backup on the southbound side of the 110 freeway. I presume he'll make his way over to those express lanes again, but he's not going to go very fast because we know that those wheels are giving out on him. Those rims are on borrowed time. It appeared that the rear tires were affected as well.
Look at this. Look at
The
this.
truck
This
is
truck
down in
is
the
trying
way.
to get in the way, trying to get him to stop. Or we thought.
Yeah,
was.
well,
It appeared that way anyway.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, now it looks like he's decided to get off the freeway again. So now LAPD getting on that exit ramp, getting back onto Manchester Avenue. It certainly appears as though he's making this up as he goes along here. But now we are westbound on Manchester Avenue, and we will see if he comes up through this intersection, decides to maybe either make a U-turn or continues westbound. I do not see him yet. He's going to be behind the tree right there, and it looks like he is making a turn. Making a now eastbound turn. Eastbound turn
So this is my Rust project. I have 4
on 84th, LAPD right behind him here. Now going underneath the freeway once again. And if the game of cat and mouse continues, he may very well get back on the freeway where he has been most comfortable during most of his pursuit, but actually looks like he's going to continue eastbound. So eastbound on 84th, I believe, coming up on Broadway. And almost looks, if you notice that, guys, it almost looks like he's able to pick up a little bit of speed there, the way he went through that intersection. He's going through a residential neighborhood now, LAPD right behind him as he continues eastbound on 84th.
Yeah, hard to see him from this view now, but we hear from law enforcement officers that pursuit suspects will often return to the neighborhoods that they're most comfortable with, that they're most familiar with. So maybe that is what we're seeing here.
I think I said 84th. It actually appears that he is still on Manchester. So he's eastbound on Manchester, and LAPD now managing another vehicle that's trying to get involved in this pursuit. So they've got another complicating factor here. Not sure what the relationship is here, but there's another vehicle that is attempting to follow. We have multiple reports of that now as he makes a northbound turn onto Main Street off of Manchester. If you notice, guys, he's now done a complete circle here in South LA. So he is definitely making it up as he goes along, maybe providing an opportunity for potentially another spike attempt on those rear wheels. But, at this point, guys, I think they've had several opportunities if they were going to give a go-ahead for that pit maneuver. And the fact that we have not seen it yet tells me they have made the decision that it might be too dangerous with whatever information they're working with, because I think we would have seen it already, and under these circumstances, the fact that we haven't tells me they may be just looking to continue the course here without a pit maneuver. So he is now on the east side of the 110 freeway, northbound on Main Street, north of Manchester. We have been here before. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think he has actually been right along this stretch of Main Street twice already. So this might be the third time that he's driven through this neighborhood right along Main Street.
I was saying earlier that sometimes pursuit suspects will return to areas that they're familiar with, neighborhoods that they're familiar with. Maybe that's what we're seeing here. And it's such a tricky tricky balancing act, really, for law enforcement. They have to obviously stay on top of this suspect. He's wanted for murder. That's what we know. We don't have any details, but they also have to keep the public safe. So it's very difficult for them to balance the two. And time is on their side. They can continue following him at slow speeds for a while.
Hopefully get him fatigued to where he just grows tired of this and decides to give up.
Yeah, at some point he will get tired, or the vehicle will run out of gas, one or the other, or another mechanical issue considering the condition of the vehicle. The other obstacle that they are working with, or the other factor I should say, is that you have people in the neighborhood who are attempting occasionally to get involved here, and that really complicates things at the end of the pursuit, because at some point they're going to pull their weapon on the suspect to make sure that he cooperates, and they don't want to have to use force. But in the event that there is a crossfire situation, they can't afford to have anybody else in their way with cell phone cameras waving the suspect on. So now he has made another turn here from northbound Main. He's now going eastbound on 71st Street. Still crawling along here, doing about 25, 30 miles per hour as LAPD continues to make their way eastbound with him here. He is just kind of taking them along for a joyride at this point, enjoying his final moments of freedom.
All right, and we will continue to watch this pursuit. Eventually, if we can get this to come to an end, it's important because this is a murder suspect. We can't emphasize that enough. This is a very important pursuit that's going on right now, trying to get this guy off the streets as he is barely moving along in a vehicle that has no tread. Oh, he's
turning once again.
Taking another turn there.
I mean, you have to imagine that on the asphalt and concrete there, as he's making those turns with metal on metal, that would have an impact on the vehicle too. But we haven't seen it impacted much, you know, which is just mind-blowing to all of us.
Yeah, the brakes are hanging in there. You know, it's interesting, Chris and Michelle, that we've learned so much about vehicles by covering pursuits. We see ones that some vehicles perform incredibly well, others are exceptionally clunky. Unfortunately, this is a well-made vehicle that seems to be able to just continue to go, even though it is severely handicapped, but it doesn't stop him. And in the past, Chris, we mentioned this in the last hour, when we see tires go down to the rim, we often see sparks. And when the sparks hit, sometimes the car catches on fire. We haven't seen sparks on this vehicle just yet, although it does look like that back bumper is really starting to flop around there somewhat.
Yeah, we had a little bit of distance, so we haven't really gotten a close look at the bumper in a while, but it does look like it's either close to falling off or maybe even off. It looks like we'll see here as he makes the turn. Yeah, now it's just hanging by a thread there. So still dangling, but just barely. And it certainly appears that, you know, obviously with this all-wheel drive vehicle, he's able to maneuver it with those rear wheels doing a bulk of the work. But again, those rims are still spinning. They are still basically intact because he's not really going fast enough, although you can imagine just how hot they're getting, and that's why we occasionally see a little bit of smoke coming from underneath the vehicle. But now he's going back towards Figueroa. Another, look at this, picking up steam actually a little bit as he makes a wild last-minute turn northbound now on Fig Street, doing yet another circle back underneath the 110 freeway, and now northbound on Figueroa. All of those LAPD cruisers absolutely comfortably able to keep up with them here. Here comes another spike. Two officers with spike attempts, almost throwing it. Look at that. I think he dragged the spike. I think he dragged that spike with the rear wheel. That may have the desired effect if that rear wheel got caught on the spike strip. One of those officers, you saw two spike strips laid down there, and one of them, I think, got caught under the rear wheel, and he might even be dragging it. We'll have a little bit of clarity here in just a second. He may have left it behind, but I think it made contact and was now, look at this, he's coming very close. Another close call with another motorist here going around traffic southbound on Flower, coming towards us once again right along the 110 freeway here. He is definitely animated now as he tries to figure out his next move. We're seeing a lot more turns, a lot more aggressive behavior behind the wheel as each and every one of these spike strip attempts kind of gets his adrenaline going once again. Now underneath the 110 freeway, I thought maybe he might even think about getting back on the 110 freeway, but he's obviously familiar with LA rush hour traffic and is not willing to get involved in that mess again. So he's going to stay on surface streets and once again continuing this circle around South LA. And look at that. It does look, I can't say for sure, guys, but it looks like in addition to that bumper, I think he is still dragging that spike strip on the left rear corner of that vehicle.
Wow. That is something that I haven't seen before, but that was quite the effort by that police officer to toss that spike strip towards him as he was trying to maneuver away from them. And if he was successful, then maybe at least that driver's side back tire might be deflating. Hopefully it is, and it does seem to be a little bit more difficult for him to maneuver the vehicle. Maybe it's just me making that up. But it does seem to be a little bit more difficult for him to make these turns now.
Yeah, it almost.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost looks like to me, it almost looks like it's had no effect, to be quite honest.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he is just zigzagging his way through now, and it almost appears to me that he's going a little bit faster. So he's probably going as fast as it'll let him go, but it just does not seem to be here. He's another truck backing up here as he navigates a narrow residential street, but the mobility of that car does not appear to be affected by this. For the first time, it almost looks like he's coming to a stop here. Officers with their door open as the vehicle appears to have come to a stop here. They have officers in front of him and officers behind him. He does not have anywhere to go here at the intersection of Main Street and 92nd. It has now come to a stop. Officers with their guns drawn out of their vehicles. We do not have good eyes on the suspect, but you can see that officer right there on the left-hand corner of your screen, the left-hand side of your screen, rather, now instructing that suspect to get out of the vehicle, and we will see if he cooperates here momentarily. You can see there was an LAPD officer waiting at the other end of that street, and that was enough for him to bring the vehicle to a stop. Maybe even setting up for another spike strip there had he continued through, but in any event, it looks like he's blocking the entire roadway. That's a very narrow residential street. That's 92nd Street off of Main, and it looks like the driver is still in the vehicle. You can now see behind that light pole, the vehicle has indeed come to a stop. It looks like this pursuit is coming to an end, but as we said earlier, and as we always say, it ain't over till it's over.
What if you can create your own website by saying this is...
How is this going to come to an end? And clearly he is still in the vehicle. It doesn't appear that he is cooperating at all, but at least he's come to a stop. And this is where, Chris, we have been saying it could get really tricky, depending on whether he has a weapon or not. And also, the police officers know that this is a murder suspect. He is considered a dangerous person. So how they handle that could be due to what they know about him. And as you said, they may have more information that we don't know when it comes to how they apprehend him and how they handle him.
Absolutely. In fact, what they are not going to do in this situation, we can say almost with certainty, they will not approach that vehicle because of the crime here. Now, it almost looks, I can't tell, looks like the driver's side door is opening. We will see how he behaves. What will not happen, what I was about to say, is that they will not approach him until he shows signs of cooperating with them. They will not tackle him. They will form a perimeter, and if he decides to run for it, they'll be ready at every juncture here. But in any event, it looks like he is putting his hands up in the air. He understands that time is up, and this pursuit is now over. He steps out of the vehicle, stepping away from that Toyota with his hands up in the air, clearly visible, as the suspect cooperates with those LAPD units. They will now treat this very carefully as they place him under arrest after a lengthy pursuit, both high speed and low speed. This pursuit has had it all, and it looks like he is showing them his waistband, making it clear that he does not have a weapon in his waistband, throwing off his baseball cap, and now giving up about as peacefully as you could possibly expect. They will approach him here momentarily, or they will ask him to walk backwards. We'll see which they choose here, but that vehicle appears to be empty. The suspect now appears to be cooperating. We are looking at it long from several miles away. That explains the shaky shot here. But you can see there are people in their backyards trying to catch a glimpse of what's going on, either watching it on their phones or hearing about it on the radio, and now trying to see what all the commotion's about here, and that is really the worst nightmare for law enforcement. Look at them approaching the vehicle. They're making sure the vehicle is clear, even with the suspect, as he is now on his knees. They now make sure that he was the only one inside that vehicle, and now approaching him with an arrest team, with his hands on his head, handcuffs being placed on the suspect, and this pursuit is officially over.
Wow. Like to see things end peacefully. No one hurt. So that is good news there, this pursuit again, that for a murder suspect who's now being taken into custody after an hour and a half. We do want to move on to some other news that we've been following today.
7 as we follow this pursuit up PCH, California Highway Patrol, on the tail of this Chrysler, a silver Chrysler, with several people on board, including a couple of kids, as far as we could tell. You can see the sheriff's helicopter keeping a close eye overhead, as well as they have tracked this suspect from East LA in the Baldwin Park area through the city, all the way across town into West LA, through Santa Monica, and eventually onto the northbound side of PCH. As he refuses to pull over, they are treating this with kid glove care, as they are aware of those two children inside of the vehicle. And again, kidnapping is believed to be one of the charges, the alleged charges here in this case. So unclear whether this is a domestic situation or if these two kids were perhaps kidnapped off the street. We don't know those details at this point, but you can see it's relatively slow as we creep up past Temescal Canyon. We are in the Pacific Palisades. The driver weaving around traffic and refusing to pull over, although not driving at extreme speeds, only doing about 35, 40 miles per hour, which is relatively slow through this area, getting closer to Malibu here as we continue northbound on PCH. The sun is going down here along the coast. There are helicopters overhead. There are several black and whites right behind this suspect. If we widen out, we can give you an idea of the resources dedicated to this pursuit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 patrol cars. And again, with the assistance of that LA County Sheriff's airship, who is calling out the position of this chase. Again, not a lot of traffic on this holiday weekend here along PCH. Traffic is relatively light here as he goes through the red light. They're making their way through that red light with him here. But again, they are aware of those children, and for that reason, they have denied the request for a pit maneuver. They will not pit this vehicle and put those children in harm's way. So he's got some advantages here because of the charges involved. We don't know how much gas is in the tank, obviously, but we can see that it is difficult to see inside the vehicle to get any more intel. Those windows are pretty heavily tinted here as he continues northbound PCH. Continuing northbound PCH, California Highway Patrol, following at a safe distance here. Again, relatively manageable speed, especially for this part of town. You can see he's continuing straight up the coast here, refusing to pull over. Again, we do not know how many adults are in the vehicle, only that there are at least a couple of kids. We do not have an age of those children. Again, a lot of details still to be worked out here, but a complicated situation due to the fact that there are children involved in this pursuit. East LA Sheriff started this pursuit, California Highway Patrol taking it over, and the sheriff's helicopter again following this straight across town from Baldwin Park all the way out here, now making their way closer to Malibu on a Friday night, coming up on Topanga Canyon here, now picking up a little bit of speed, going around traffic here, and going through a bunch of these red lights. So not obeying the rules of the road, but not driving extremely fast either. Very little braking that we're seeing here. So they are taking all of that into account, and they are going to try and probably, at some point, I would imagine, try and create a traffic break along PCH to prevent any other interference. You can see traffic is actually light in both directions, north and southbound. So he's got the entire highway to play with here. 2 lanes up the coast here, northbound on PCH at about 50 miles per hour. And again, heavily tinted windows here, so making it difficult. But we're trying to get some more information in terms of who else may be inside the vehicle, whether there's any communication going on, and any other intel that they may be working with here. Can you push in on that primary unit, Rob? I just want to see and double. Copy that. So a correction here. This did not start in Baldwin Park. Actually, it started in East LA. So the East LA County Sheriff's Department initiating this pursuit. Again, handing it off to California Highway Patrol along the 10 freeway. Took the 10 freeway straight across the entire city. And now you have California Highway Patrol, the primary agency here involved, and LA County Sheriff, again, following from above, as you can occasionally see the helicopter flying through the shot here. Again, he's going around traffic at manageable speeds here, but he has continued repeatedly blowing through red lights here. We should also say we don't know for a fact that it's a male, unknown the gender of the driver, but you can see very difficult to tell. In fact, at some point, Maury, maybe we can get in front of it. I know we have a lot of air traffic up here, but would love to take a peek through the front windshield at some point, if it's possible. But he's continuing northbound at about 50 miles per hour, passing Big Rock Drive here in Malibu. Again, it almost appears as though they have successfully prevented, they have basically, for all intents and purposes, created a traffic break behind him. So you won't see traffic coming up from behind him. It'll be curious to see if maybe they can also do the same thing ahead of him to keep innocent motorists out of harm's way here. But again, he is on the northbound side. Traffic, again, almost non-existent in both directions here. Copy that. Are they swapping out? Is there another one? Very good. Going to get our first glimpse here in just a second through the front windshield, and we'll hopefully get a better idea of the demeanor and description of the driver behind the wheel here. You can see those hands on the steering wheel. And it does sound like this is going to fall on those CHP units to maintain a visual of this suspect, because the LA County Sheriff's helicopter is about to make their way back to the sheriff's station for fuel. So the helicopter overhead is running out of gas. They're going to refuel, and again, it's going to be up to these half dozen or so California Highway Patrol units to keep the suspect within arm's reach here. So they're not going to give this up. They've shown every indication that they are dedicated to this pursuit. Again, a kidnapping suspect. Unclear whether there are any other charges or what other charges are involved here. If you look closely enough, you can see it appears to be a little boy in the passenger seat of the vehicle. Looks like a little boy in the passenger seat, coming up on a little bit of congestion as he makes his way further north here. We are now looking southbound, using the median to get around some of that traffic there. He's got the green light. He's going to continue through here as they continue this pursuit at a safe distance. But again, we're getting our first glimpse through the front windshield. Apologize for the exhaust there. We'll kind of crab along here and try and hold it steady, but you can see it does look like a male driver. I think that was that a male male driver and a little boy in the passenger seat coming around this cliff here. You broke up one more time. Copy that. Copy. So we're just getting some word in from our assignment desk that there's apparently a parent on the phone with law enforcement. Those two children were inside of the vehicle at the time that this vehicle was stolen. So this is a stolen vehicle, potentially carjacked from a parent with two children inside of the vehicle. The parent is telling law enforcement that there's about a half a tank of gas inside of this silver Chrysler, again, continuing to blow through these red lights here with at least a couple of children who you can only imagine must be scared to death. This is a stranger that is driving this vehicle. There are 2 children inside of this stolen vehicle, and this is a pursuit that will not end until California Highway Patrol can safely stop this vehicle and apprehend that suspect. There is almost no other way that this pursuit can end, and hopefully if the driving remains as safe and slow as it is, nobody will get hurt here. County Sheriff's Department here by way of a spike strip set up a little further north here. We're going to try and keep an eye out for that as he continues up the coastline here. There are vehicles, or there's at least one vehicle. Oh, he just hit it. He just hit it. He just hit it. Let's see if that was successful. That was, I believe, a sheriff's SUV there that laid down that spike strip. So just as we were talking about, California Highway Patrol chasing the suspect, LA County Sheriff now laying down a nice spike, and he is picking up speed after running over that spike strip. It's unclear whether the tire struck the spike strip, but we will see if this vehicle behaves any differently, aside from the fact that he is now doubling his speed here as he makes his way northbound PCH and now braking for some reason. Well, you can imagine the reason now. He is much more agitated, and the vehicle appears to be behaving nominally thus far, but they did lay down a spike. He appeared to drive right over it, and we'll see if those tires start to wobble at all as they lose air. Hopefully, if he struck either side with if he struck the spike strip with either side of the vehicle, hopefully we'll see some of that rubber start to deflate there. So he's continuing northbound past Paradise Cove at a high rate of speed now, and they are, how far back are they now? They were really close on his tail. They are still pretty close, but he is picking up steam here, and unfortunately, well, it's unfortunate because he was traveling much slower. Again, we just want to see this end as safely as possible. Hopefully they could bring this to a peaceful resolution. But right now, that driver is now agitated, and he is definitely stepping on the gas pedal as he tries to evade these law enforcement officers. LA County Sheriff with the knife. I'm sorry? Winding way. Copy that. Copy that. Copy that. All right. Traffic, and the driver loses control right into the hillside there at a major intersection. That's going to be Canaan Doom Road, and the driver is now jumping out of the vehicle. There's 2 kids inside that vehicle. Okay. He's running. He's on the run. They're going to chase him up this embankment here. There are children inside that vehicle. We'll go back in just a second. Right now, we're going to stick with the driver. California Highway Patrol chasing the suspect up the embankment as he runs for his life here up the hillside on the west side into an apartment complex right along PCH at Canaan Doom Road. A major crash there with cross traffic right along PCH at Canaan Doom. The driver still running, barefoot, taking off a sweater and continuing to run through this apartment complex towards the beach. Oh, this is terrible. This is just terrible. He's continuing this foot pursuit here at Point Doom, through a field in Point Doom. He's running through an open field here. We'll see if that officer was able to make his way up that embankment with him here. It was a pretty steep embankment, and he is now going to start running out. Look at, he's really, that's got to be really uncomfortable, barefoot, running through this field. He's still running. Can't see anybody behind him. Anybody behind him, Rob? Anybody at all? I don't lose him. I don't see anybody behind him. I don't see anybody behind him yet. He's running through the trees. At some point, I want to get an address here at the end of this neighborhood. We'll try and get the street. He's running through the vegetation behind some private property, some steep terrain here in Point Doom, and he is navigating it pretty well considering he's barefoot here. He is slowing down a little bit. There is private property not far from his position here, but he's in an open field off of Port Shed Road. right off of Canaan Doom, right off of PCH. You saw him jump out of the vehicle after a violent crash. At some point, we will get a condition on those kids, and we will get a shot of that vehicle. But right now, we are one of the only people with a view of this suspect. Law enforcement is at a real disadvantage here. They're trying to get into position. The airship had to pull off for fuel. Those ground officers, those officers on the ground, I should say, did not make their way up that embankment as successfully as he did. And now he is trying to climb through barbed wire to try and hide out. He's run through a field off of Port Shed Road, now walking through private property here in Point Doom, trying to hide in the vegetation. There's a lot of thick vegetation here as he tries to blend in. Unbelievable. He's continuing to try and hide out, looking for a hiding spot here. He is taking his shirt off now as he gets close. I think, how close is the closest residence here? Okay, it looks like a home under construction here at the end of Selfridge Drive and Port Shed Road. Selfridge Drive, Port Shed Road, single-family homes, and a home under construction here. A construction or maybe an abandoned property. Where is he? He's right behind that tree there. Now walking through that property. He's run out of steam here, and the LA County Sheriff's Department is going to flood this neighborhood. They're going to flood this area in short order here. They must have dozens of units on their way out here at this point. California Highway Patrol back at the crash scene. LA County Sheriff's Department with units on the way out here to Point Doom to try and corner this suspect. He's continuing on the move here in Point Doom through an open field and now behind private property at the end of Port Shed Road and Selfridge Drive, walking through the vegetation, climbing through fences, and again, looking for a hiding spot in this Lux community here in Point Doom. He is at the end of Selfridge Drive. Again, those are the two streets that we're working with, Selfridge Drive and Port Shed Road. He is now on private property. He's crossed through that fence, is now in somebody's backyard. Well, we're going to lose the suspect. I'll show the kids real quick, and then we'll go back to the suspect. The kids are being removed from the vehicle. You can see this violent crash scene at the end of Canaan Doom Road at PCH. A violent crash, the vehicle losing control after crashing into, oh no. Somebody is holding that child on the side of the road. At least one child now. I believe there were two. There was a report of children at the outset of this pursuit. To the best of our information, there were at least two kids, but we have a visual now of one child being tended to. No ambulance on site yet, on scene. It looks like perhaps an innocent bystander attending to that child who is moving around on the shoulder here. This is going to be the southbound side of PCH. The entire highway has now been shut down, and you can see there is somebody else, it looks like, inside. Oh, there's a sheet. Oh, God. It looks like the airbags were deployed in there. You've got one child in a red shirt being tended to by an innocent bystander there, or a Good Samaritan, I should say. And you have another vehicle, the vehicle that he crashed into, with an unknown number of occupants or injuries. So this is taking a disturbing turn here. We do not know the fate of the other child at this point. There is now a manhunt going on for the suspect, who is hiding out in private property in Point Doom. A major crash scene here at the end of Canaan Doom and PCH. They are anxiously awaiting more backup here. And, of course, LA County Fire Department on the way out here. We're going to come around here and get the best angle we can. But it looks like they're going to perhaps use the jaws of life here. It looks like there's a rescue that's about to take place here. There's a rescue operation in progress, perhaps to reach that child. You can see the jaws of life as they try and hold that door open. I'm not sure. Maybe they may try and cut the roof off here. Not sure. Maybe cut a belt out. I don't know what they're dealing with inside that vehicle. This is just a heartbreaking scene. That child clearly in pain, holding on to somebody here as they wait for an ambulance. It's a baby seat. They just pulled a baby seat out of the rear of the vehicle. It looks like the boy along the side of the road may be the boy that was in the front seat, and now they've pulled a child seat out of the rear of this vehicle. Oh boy, this is tough to watch. It looks like where? Okay, there he is. There's the passenger. There's the passenger. Okay, so the passenger is actually now being escorted out of the vehicle. He is walking. He appears to be okay, and perhaps the child in the red shirt maybe was in the child seat, or perhaps there may be even more than two children. We don't know. Is there a baby in the seat, or is that seat empty, Rob? Do you know? Can you see if there's any? They would be tending to the baby. If there was a baby in there, they would have somebody. Is he talking to a child inside that baby seat? There is a child. There's 3 children here. There's a child, a toddler. There's a toddler in the child seat, and 2 other children being tended to. So they've now appeared to have rescued 3 children from this car. The child in the red shirt clearly in pain. They've escorted another child from the passenger seat. That's the child that we saw through the windshield. And now a toddler in that child seat that has now been freed from the rear of the vehicle. So 3 children now in the process of being rescued. Fire department on scene. California Highway Patrol with the entire highway shut down. PCH now shut down at Kane and Doom. And it appears, by all accounts, all 3 children are alive and breathing. A major crash scene here. There's another vehicle involved. We do not know how many occupants were inside of that vehicle or what the extent of the injuries were. The driver of this stolen vehicle, who does not know these children apparently, ran straight up that embankment into a field in Point Doom and has now disappeared in a neighborhood in Point Doom. Okay, California Highway Patrol, perhaps with a lead here as they try, or sheriff, is that sheriffs? No, those are chippies. California Highway Patrol running back to their vehicles here, perhaps with some more information here, but he was right in this neighborhood. It was the last time we saw him here at Portshed Road at Boniface Drive in Point Doom. You could see a flood of law enforcement in this neighborhood now. Well, hopefully, we can only hope that maybe a resident saw something and was able to report back on the location of this suspect. But they appear to be focusing on this block right here, which is within proximity of where we last saw him as he climbed through up this embankment and into this neighborhood here. All right, sounds good.
Don't compromise quality insurance for savings or your time for this ad. Hit that skip button, or don't, and watch me skip.
You in there? Yes. Yes.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
You know that story where slow and steady wins? That's terrible advice.
You can see southbound traffic on PCH now coming to a standstill. A long line of traffic here as the highway is shut down, still waiting for paramedics as they tend to these children. We have 3 kids who were inside of that vehicle at the time of that violent crash. And again, a driver who did not appear to be harmed at all, escaping the vehicle, running into a neighborhood here in Point Doom. Another vehicle and even a third vehicle that the vehicle crashed into. You can see if you push in on the innocent motorist there, came into contact with another white SUV. And so a total of 3 vehicles, it appears, involved in this crash. He was blowing right through the red light. That cross traffic, that vehicle driving, crossing PCH, had the green light and was basically T-boned by the suspect. One detained. Okay. Copy that. Copy that. So some new information just coming in now from the Sheriff's Department. This is from the Sheriff's Department. We do not know if it's the suspect, but one person is being detained at this moment. One person is being detained in Point Doom, in the vicinity of where we last saw that suspect. We do not know for sure whether it is the suspect who stole this vehicle and went running up that embankment, but at least one person is now being detained. So that is the information coming from the LA County Sheriff's Department. Folks, the treatment that they need. We do not know the extent of the injuries. As we continue to watch here, you can see that Black Hawk on the ground, the Fire Hawk picking up some of the patients. There is now a second fire helicopter, county fire, on the way out here with a second helicopter. And again, you are looking at the end, the culmination of a violent pursuit that ended on PCH in Malibu after a crash ending at Canaan Doom Road. The suspect running for it through Point Doom, eventually being taken into custody. And another innocent motorist also injured here, an elderly patient at the intersection. She has been taken, or is being taken, to the hospital as well. And PCH at this hour is currently shut down.